Afternoon, Christine. It's been
Oh
a
my God.
challenging time. We're here, right? After all these technical difficulties. It reminds me back in the day with TTT. How every Friday night you're trying to look at your movies before all this cable thing and all this thing happened when we were children. I mean, people who mature enough like me to know that, right? They always have technical difficulties. I felt like TTT today back in the day. But anywho, we're here. And this topic is very timely that we can chat about today because the season's upon us when people begin to feel all sorts of way about being by themselves and different things.
Yes.
Because you said when you talk about loneliness as against being alone, and yeah, it's a topic that men and women struggle with. But we talk to women, so the men can listen if they want to. But you know how it goes, right? So let's get our intro started and let's get into this topic.
Whew.
Yeah,
Cheryl.
we're here. Loneliness as opposed to being alone. I got a definition here that I saw. I found it on a Microsoft blog or vlog, whichever one. Blog. To me, it's the same thing, but I mean, they make a difference, right? So it says
Yes.
loneliness is the 3 a.m. thoughts that haunt your dream. Loneliness is that song on the radio that you have to turn off the second it comes on. But being alone is a different situation completely. Being alone is a state of being. Loneliness is a state of mind. That's the definition they gave for that. And what I could gather from that, what I've got, I mean, from speaking to people about being lonely, it has a lot to do with loneliness is an emotional state. It is because some people just don't like. I guess it's a mental thing, and I don't think I'll ever really fully understand it, right? Because I like being alone. I'm just saying. But I also know that you could be in a crowd or be in a marriage or in a relationship or have people in a house with you and still be lonely. So loneliness definitely is we probably have to get somebody who studies human behavior to really give a real definition of that. Loneliness really is an emotional state of mind. Being alone is a whole different story, right? I don't think anybody likes being alone all the time. But some people like me cherish my alone time. When I get to do things, just relax, look at my movies, read my books, plan my stuff out. I love doing creating graphics and that kind of thing. So I would spend time. So when I look at the time, it's an hour past and I'm creating all these things. I like that. So my alone time doesn't bother me. But I
Right.
know that there are people who, let me tell you something, will lose their minds even when the children have to leave their homes to go and live on their own, which I think they should be so happy. Because who wants to raise children for all their life? I don't know. But I know I was very happy when my two became adults and I didn't really have to look after them anymore. We have a good relationship, we chat with each other, we know what's happening in each other's life, but guess what? That God didn't give us children to be our pets for life unless they have some kind of challenge. He gave us them for us to raise them, for them to live their own life the way we lived our own life. So I mean, it really is a matter of an emotional thing. You know, like I said, I am not an expert in human behavior. I could only talk based on the experiences I've had with other people. You know, I know people who said they just cannot be, they don't know what to do with themselves when they are in a house alone. And I'm like, really? It just seems strange to me, right? It seems strange to me because I know I could spend, and I guess really, if I think about my life, I have never really been like alone. You know, I would not because my youngest son still is at home. He's a grown man, so he's not here with me all the time. I may say here, I mean he's in his room or he's out or whatever he's doing, but there's still someone living in my residence with me. So, so I've never really lived like alone, like never had anybody around me, kind of something. So I guess that might be a different experience if there's nobody
Yeah.
to look to. I know he's there, you know. I look forward to the time when he would go on his own. I have no problem with that because I know I'd see him, you know, and I mean I could do what I want to do when I want to, how I want to do it. You know what I mean? Especially the cooking, cooking part of it. You know, I want to be able to live how I want to live. You know, so it's really it really is a state of mind, and I guess only somebody who experienced that, a personal experience with loneliness, could probably explain what they feel. You know, I could talk about being alone. I've been alone many times. You know, they have traveled out and left me alone, but I didn't feel lonely. I mean, like skipping around, like like a lark and very happy like a school girl because I was just have to think about them. Lock my door, stay inside, get my car, drive, go where I want to go. You know, it gave me a sense of freedom. That's how I felt when I was alone. So I've never really had the chance to feel lonely, or never felt lonely, right? What's your take on it?
What comes up? Hi, everybody. Christine Francois, wellness coach, here with you today. Um, what comes up for me, Cheryl, is very much like you. Both of my children are adults. One is no longer living in Trinidad, and my son and I live together in this home. When he is, and he's very much like your son, he works from home, so he's in his room, and it's different when he's not here, because when he is here, ever so often I might stop by. Hey, how things? Everything all right? We, stop to talk to each other. And I know for me, I relish having someone to talk to, even if it might be for 5 minutes in the entire day. When he's not here, I don't feel lonely because I know he's coming back. Um, and I play my music, I turn it up as loud as I want. I dance about the house and I do things just like you, um, to suit myself. So I eat when
Yeah,
I want, I cook when I want. And he and I, because we both work from home, we have that level of flexibility. I follow a particular eating regimen. He follows it similarly because I'm the one who does the cooking. And so we have, I think too, what we have is this, just like you and your son, we have an amazing relationship. When, yes, I do want him to live on his own as well, for him to experience it, you know? Um, and I was thinking about it just the other day when we decided to talk about this particular topic, and realized that I too have never really lived all by myself. I left my parents' home to get married. It was my husband and I, then we had the kids, then my daughter went off, and Adam and I, my son and I, have been, together since, for the last, just two of us, for the last maybe 8 years. Um, but what I do recognize is, and then of course, I'm a caregiver to my mom, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So I'm never really alone.
right.
Lonely, I believe, and I have to admit, I've felt it because having been in a long term relationship, the loneliness comes because I guess of my own quote unquote love languages. I am a sensory person. So being hugged and having someone to have amazing conversations, someone from the opposite sex, that is something that's missing for me. And even though I have one or two male friends that I can pick up the phone or, have that conversation, it's not the same as having someone um, and it doesn't have to be intimate. It just means someone of the opposite sex to have great conversation with and engage with. So from that male female perspective, I feel that bit of loneliness, and it's not every single day and it's not every single week. But there is that level of, I guess, connection that I personally crave. So I've had conversations with friends of mine, working colleagues, men, and those conversations have been amazing. Um, to have that outside of quote unquote working hours is something that I would like to have again. Um, and even the holiday season, because we're coming up on that now. We're actually in our the most wonderful time of the year, Christmas, which is my favorite time of the year as well. For the last 3 years, I have not felt lonely. I've been alone, but I haven't felt lonely. But you know, as the years pass, you want to have someone to share special occasions with, and from that perspective, I've felt, um, you know, total transparency. I've felt lonelier on those times.
I hear you. I hear you. Um, there's a loneliness is an unpleasant emotional response to perceived isolation. That's a definition I'm seeing here, right? It is also described as a social plan, a psychological mechanism which motivates individuals to seek social connection. It is often associated with an unwanted lack of connection and intimacy. Something like what you're talking about there, right? I mean, it is, it, I'm not, I could never make light of it. It is not, because I've met people who've really been not in a good mental state at all, because they feel as though there's no real reason for being alive. And when people get to that state of mind, that's not a good place to be, right? They feel as though there's no what's the term I'm trying to use? They have no there's no value to them because
Oh
there's no
goodness.
one to share things with, right? And like we said, I will keep saying, around this time of the year, when there's a special type of thing in the atmosphere, regardless of your religious persuasion, people love Christmas time. Those songs, that music, just something in the atmosphere just makes you feel so different that you really crave. I don't know if I've never spent a Christmas like Jay per se, alone by myself, never, right? Because my elder son will still will come over and bring my grandson, so they'll come over, so I'll have company, and back in the day, my sisters who live abroad will come to Trinidad and we all go to mommy's house. So there was food on the table, and I mean, let me tell you something. People lie down and fall asleep after lunch. It was just, and we have jokes, and it was really good. So every year we looked forward to that. And when she became not so well, and we couldn't do that again, we would gather together sometimes at each other's homes and that kind of thing. And then, of course, I would travel somewhere for Christmas. I've done that, spent like a snowy Christmas. So there's always been something for me to do at Christmas time. I've never really been alone, like maybe even Johan and I alone in a house. That doesn't happen. Last two Christmas was kind of strange because that COVID thing was around and people weren't socializing. But my eldest son will still come, and my grandson will still come. So at least the immediate family was still together, have our meals together. Our meals and spend the day and open presents in the morning, kind of something. And of course, I have an
Yes.
awesome stepdaughter, Melissa, who would always come. She'd always come as well. So she'd come and we'd be all together. So I've never really been alone. So my heart really feels the people who feel that way. I can't say. I mean, there are some people who really try to talk to them, a woman, and find things to do with yourself, and they tell you they don't know what to do. But there are things you could do. One of the things that in this blog that I'm reading here, one of the things that has been proposed is that they get a woman, not of any age, because they used to be from 1920, 16, 1920, up
Yes.
to 16, 70, whatever age. It could be any. So we're talking about across the board here with the loneliness. So one of the things that people should look to doing is to get involved in groups
Yes.
and social connections, because sometimes that's what you need, right? If you don't have family or children or maybe good neighbors, right? But then again, we know there are people who have challenges even socializing.
Yeah.
There are people who have challenges like talking to other people, because they have all these issues. People will like them. They don't know what to say. I mean, there's a variety of things that I think somebody who studies human behavior could probably talk on that, or speak on that because they might have had experience with patients who they have dealt with in that area. So it really is a whole big deal, but it is a very serious thing. At Christmas time,
Absolutely.
at special times like your birthday and different things, people do feel, as young people would say, they'll probably just say it again, but so I wouldn't say that too much, we'll say, oh, but they probably do feel strange, different, because they are alone, I never get it when, I don't get when women tell me they're afraid for when their children leave home. I don't get that, especially those who have husbands. I don't get it. That I don't get.
You don't get
Because I have a
what?
husband. I don't get it that, there are women I know of. There's some background noise happening here again. I don't know what that is.
Rain. It's raining.
It's not that, that's the rain. I'm hearing something other than rain. I don't know what that is. But
Okay.
anyway. Whatever, people just bear with us. One day we'll get all the equipment and all the software and we'll be perfect. There. So they're married, have been in a marriage for a number of years with this husband, and their children have gotten to the stage now where they are going out on their own, and they're losing their minds because of that. But you have a husband, and to me that speaks to the relationship with the husband, with the spouse, right?
Yes.
Both of them need to go and get some kind of therapy and get their act together, because I don't understand how you could be in that. To me, that's the time now, because you married your husband. I was a woman. I wrote in my book. You married your husband. You didn't marry your children. You married your husband. So you have a husband. I'm talking to the woman now. And your son or daughter will get their spouse and move on. And it's only fair. I mean, why do you want them to stay with you when you had your chance to live your life? They have to live their life as well, right? So when you start to panic because they're all going to be leaving and they're going to be alone with this husband, I mean, there's something wrong. That's beyond loneliness now. There's something going on in that relationship, When I had my husband, we had wonderful times together when we were alone. From time to spend together alone when we had wonderful times. We could talk and laugh and share things, go on vacation. Whatever we need to do, we did it because that was our time. The children have their space and so that's a whole other topic that we could probably talk on one day, or get somebody to come and an expert in that area to come and talk about that. Why are you in a married, your status is married, and your spouse is there, and yet you're panicking because your children are going to leave in home because you feel you're going to be lonely out there. Because all you do is to wash and cook and clean for them all day long. But these are adults. And when our children are grown. So we know when they grow up, they have a different mindset. They have a different life. This is now their life. They have things they want to do. They choose spouses, they choose partners in life. My son has a girlfriend for me about 4 years. The younger one. The other one has been married. I don't know how long. He has a 10-year-old grandson. So I mean, that's who they've not chosen their life partners. They've not chosen who they want to be with. Why would I want to take that away from them? Well, that to me, that can't come into my loneliness. That always has to be my mindset.
Yes.
Like I said, that like I wrote this morning on LinkedIn, I spoke about mindset a little bit. Mindset is something that people need to just pound home every single day. There's a lot of all of those things there happens because of that. Your thinking, your thought process.
Yes.
Being alone is not a bad thing. I love being alone. I'm very creative when I'm alone. I sleep a lot when I'm alone. Maybe I eat too much and munch too many snacks when I'm alone. But I do things, get on the phone and call Christine, call somebody that's down the store. And we have conversations about different things.
We do that a lot.
Yeah. So we do, you find things because you have friends who we can talk to and talk about almost anything. And we all need to create, and you don't need 100 friends. My friends who I talk to on a regular basis, my 5 fingers here, these 5 fingers, I haven't reached the 5th one yet. I have many people who I can speak to. I have neighbors around me who I can speak to. Right? But for the people who I feel to be close to, like share things with, anything that happens in my life, I haven't reached my 5th finger yet, where that is concerned.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, the people need to create some kind of atmosphere around them where they don't feel, because that loneliness can lead to a lot of different. that mental stress is not an easy thing. It is not.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's interesting how you described loneliness, because I too went to the to find a description, and it says loneliness because one has no friends or company. And then alone says having no one present. So alone is simply in the moment. No one is
Mm-hmm.
present. What's happening with you today? Well, currently I'm alone because I'm alone in a space. There's no one else here at the moment, but loneliness is
Right.
having no one in their life, no company, no friends. And, you know, jumping back to what you were saying about, and that I'm just going to touch on this very briefly because I've read up on it. And the having a husband or a wife and still being in the depths of loneliness is created because when two people get married, that connection is broken for many people because you didn't marry your children. Husband, God first, husband second, children after. Everybody else, pets, of course, everybody else after. But that connection and that relationship, because so often you find that kids leave home and now you've got two people staring at each other with this question: who are you? I don't know who I'm married to anymore, because, and many men say that their wives, just the children became so much more important than them that they either disappeared into a man cave or they disappeared with someone someone else, which is something that we face here in the Caribbean a lot. So maintaining that relationship with the person that you married throughout your lifetime, and I guess that's why the social phenomenon called date night has become so popular, keeping that romantic, intimate um, connection with the person that you love and married. And so that's, yeah, I agree. That's a whole other conversation. But what I can tell you is I read this article, Cheryl, written by Dr. Alejandra Vasquez. And in the article, it's called How to Deal with Loneliness. Now, in my instance, my husband passed away. And so I found it was befitting that I covered the whole issue of widowhood, because so often what I found is men, women, we get together, we get married, and we marry our friends as well, the friend circle. And oftentimes a husband dies and the wife no longer has, unless she's maintained her own circle of friends, separate from the group friends. She says here, loneliness significantly affects those who have suffered the loss of a husband. A certain stigma, here's that word, of loneliness in widowed spouses can cause people to withdraw from them, almost as if widowhood was contagious. These unfair biases against the widowed help exacerbate the feelings of loneliness. And that too is interesting. And she also talks about, she gave 12 tips for overcoming it, and you have already shared one of those, and it is join a group. Join a group, common interests. Tell someone what you're really feeling. And so often, I don't know, is it just as women? Just us women?
No, no, there are lots of men who actually experience that same kind of phenomenon. Lots of men
I
who
know.
actually do it. But
So,
sometimes they don't speak up about it as how the woman will probably, or maybe show it, like face value. Somebody could say a woman, I could tell she looks stressed. They don't show it as much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they says tell someone how you really feel, right? Spread the word, talk to your friends, stay positive, volunteer. That's a great way for meeting new people and giving back to community. Take a class, join a group, take a trip by yourself. And that's an interesting one. Take a trip, take a solo trip, go out and visit your friends. And we have a trip that's supposed to be coming up. Invite a friend to lunch or tea or something. Read books about widowhood. I'm not doing that one. Seek counseling. And then learn to live life again. I think that's very interesting.
So let me go back to something you said, right, about marriage and two people living in a house together. They have their family, their children, and the children have grown up and gone, and they look at this person and wonder who is this person. It goes back to this whole thing about marriage, which is not the topic of today, but I'll touch on it a little bit since you brought it up, right? And we both have spouses who decide to go to sleep for life, for eternity, right? But like I said, everybody everybody's mindset is very different. So some people grieve for life, and I am so over that. Okay, I am not gonna lie about it. I may have a dream every once in a while, but I am so over it. I'm okay, I'm good. And I'm not just saying that I am really very, very good. Right? I can spend all of my life, thinking about somebody who is deceased, can bring them back. Right? Okay. Wish they were here, but they're not. So, right. You think about it with marriage. Marriage is such a funny thing. When I hear, no, I know the church will probably get upset with me for saying that, right? But when I hear people say they don't want to get married, I really don't get upset with people for that, Because that's a really touchy, technical, kind of on edge, kind of funny, kind of something between two people. There's so many things that could happen there between two people who meet and like each other, attract each other in different ways, right?
Yes.
And I think the there's a pressure to make it official because other than that, you're living in sin, right? And the church would say. But sometimes some people don't have the same. There has to be a commonality, and there are lots of people who get together and get married, but they really have nothing in common. Because I always tell people, like I tell Melissa all the time, my stepdaughter, I said, let me tell you something, that chemistry you're looking for, need chemistry. I said, let me tell you something. That chemistry just means sex, right? I say, and you will meet several people along your lifetime who you probably feel that attraction to. You don't act on it, but you feel that pull towards. It goes away. You have to have something more than just chemistry with somebody for it to be a long-lasting something. Because after that wears off, right? That's a whole other topic by itself. People like say, oh, after marriage, no sex. That's nonsense. That's not true, right? That's not true for everybody. If that's happening, then there's something more in the relationship than there's that. But the thing is, what do you have in common with this person? What have you all done together? Could you all have conversations late into the night? Could you all go for walks together? Would you all think of, do you all like to dance? What is the common thread between you and this person besides this attraction? Oh, she has pretty eyes, boy. Oh, he have a nice body. Oh, he has nice eyes. I'm attracted to him. And then what? So if you all use that alone and the church pushes you all towards marriage, because that's what they do all the time. So throw rocks at me, I'll take it. Right? Because the truth is the truth. They push you into this marriage, and then you get married to this person, and then you have your children, so both of you are busy. He out working, you out working, to come home, children, cook, clean, pay the mortgage, busy, right? Children grow up and they go out. And then you look at each other like, what do we do now? What do we do now? Right? And therein lies the problem with those relationships. So people need to stop and think about this marriage thing. Marriage is a good thing. I'm not opposed to marriage at all. I may do it a second time in my life, you never, or third time in my life, you never know. You're never going to be the right person. But we have to have something in common. I'm a communicator. Anybody who knows me know I love to talk. If we can't talk about certain things and we can't communicate, we can't laugh, and then we can't be together.
Correct.
No chemistry could attract me to you. Come been there, done that when you're young, and it's stupid, and you think that's all you need, right? You know that this relationship means that there's something more to just that between both of you all. So you all could be in a different phase. I'll talk about my sister and her husband. Let me tell you something. They got married when they were older. So he had his relationship with his children and she had hers with her daughter, whatever, and then they both got separated and then they met each other and then they decided to get together. Within the first year of meeting, they got married. November is going to be 25 years since they've been married, right? So it lasted. So they got married when they were mature. He did his thing, had his relationship. It didn't work out. He had his two daughters. She had hers and she had her one daughter. And then when they got together, of course, by the time they had no children together. But what they have is a relationship. And let me tell you something. Those two people, I mean, they look so good. You know what's amazing about them? They should be models for marriage. They talk to each other like forever. Right now, he's in the US and she's here. She's going back at the end of this month because, well, they're going to celebrate their anniversary over there, right? So they both got their citizenship and whatever. So they're doing their thing back and forth. And she was speaking to me on the phone and he kept calling. And she said to him, I'm going to call you back. And he didn't not read it because he started to talk to my wife and he kept messaging. Should have stopped my call to go and tell him, listen to me. I told you I'm talking to Cheryl, I'll call you back. Because at a certain time every night they have to speak to each other. They have to talk, right? And that's amazing. That went way beyond what the butterflies in his stomach and all the foolishness, right? So if there are two people who would not be lonely. They have each other. And plus they have their children and they have their grandchildren. And they've merged that family so well. That's not the norm for a lot of people. Sometimes you marry somebody who has children and those children never become your children and your children, that's not what happened there. It's really, I mean, it's admirable. And they need to package that and write a book about it. Whatever they did to get that together, it is fine. It's fabulous. So a lot of times, sometimes that loneliness, when you still have a spouse, comes in because you do not have that kind of relationship with that person. You don't. And if you don't, then that's the problem. There's the problem. Yeah.
Well, what I can say is that, sorry, Cheryl, traffic controller.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. So what was I about to say? Yeah. You know, what can happen too when we go back to loneliness, what can happen too is if people don't find ways to work around what they're feeling, so talk about it, reach out to a friend, and make sure it's a friend who is understanding and who really cares about you, not the many random people that know us and we know them. And as you say, the 4 friends or 5 friends that we have, right? Close friends, less than one hand. And you know, it is said that if you have 2, Bishop always says, it's TD Jakes, if you have 2 or 3 friends who are your confidants in your entire lifetime, you have done well. You have done well. So talk to someone about it, someone who really cares about you, someone who can perhaps make some suggestions. You guys can go out to coffee or tea, sit somewhere beautiful and talk and laugh. It could be male, it could be female, doesn't matter. But in instances where that loneliness is prolonged and that person does not find a way to express themselves, now that loneliness will manifest in all sorts of mental wellness, health ways. It could be anxiety, depression. If you're lonely and you can't sleep, poor sleep habits, poor sleep cycles now create other health issues. So loneliness on its is cannot be looked at on its own. And really this is a symptom of something that has to be dealt with so that you can live a happy, prolonged, healthy life. Because ultimately you want to experience things. I mean,
Yeah.
I was looking at this movie, Cheryl, called From Scratch. And it is a fabulous love story of a Black American woman who meets her husband in Italy. And of course, they go through X amount of years of trauma and trial and happiness, trauma, trial until he passes on. But, the relationship that she had with her husband, and even once he passed and she got over, I don't think she will ever get over, hence the reason why she wrote the book. But the relationship that she had with friends who really loved and cared for her sister who really, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about even when you no longer have that partner, having a community of people who love and care for you and about you and you care for too is that helps to sustain you and helps you with your own mental wellness. So we cannot look at loneliness, and this is from my perspective, looking at mental wellness. We cannot look at loneliness and isolation, and it can be the precursor to a host of other body, mind, and spirit issues that we absolutely have to address. And so, I just encourage people to seriously look at that. If you are feeling lonely, step one, tell somebody. Tell somebody who loves and cares for you. And, start that process of, moving out of that feeling of loneliness. I know someone um, whose husband died around the same time my husband died. And I feel so badly for that person because her countenance, her countenance is so sad. And I feel so sad for her. Now, people might look at me and say, oh my goodness, you seem to have bounced back well, the thing is, I do miss him, but but not to the point where I can't live or will not live, because I made a decision a number of years ago that I had to continue living, and there were people who would benefit from my experiences, and and by the way, I have a responsibility to my children as well, to show them that even in the midst of trauma and trial, that you can step forward with your life and not just survive but thrive. Because I always believe there is a lesson that we can learn and we can help other people.
Something just came to mind. I have this, and I have to check. Is she alive still? I have to check that. I don't know if she's alive. I had this elderly client. She was the most gorgeous plus size woman ever come across. Let me tell you something. Full figure, but she was attached to university to UB for a number of years. I think she worked there in some area. So every year they had this fashion show fundraiser thing, and people look forward to her on the runway. She would model all these nice three-quarter shorts and these long blazers over and stuff with her sneakers and her socks. And she was, at that time, I was probably in my 30s, and she was probably already in her late 50s or 60s, right? But let me tell you, gorgeous. And she walked the runway. And she had a husband. She was married for many, many years. And she and her husband were like what people call a ring on finger. Let me tell you, they were kind of connected. When he was cooking, she was there cooking too. Everything was, and okay, he was Ainsley and she was Anne. So used to call them the two A's, Anne and Ainsley. Let me tell you something. They were so beautiful. Even as a young woman, I felt whenever I was amongst them, it always felt so good to be around them. They were also
Yes.
positive. Well, Mr. Ainsley decided to get sick and passed away. And everybody was so concerned. I don't know what she would do now because my goodness, they were so tight. She spent a little time in grief. Yes, she did. Eventually, she pulled herself up. And the echo, I keep hearing my voice back.
I'm not hearing
Anyway,
it.
I'm hearing it on my side. Anyway, I'm trying not to think about it. She pulled herself up by her bootstraps. And I didn't see her for a while, right? And then one Sunday, I was at Haagen-Dazs in LSD Plaza, and she came in there. And I was so happy, like, oh my God, what you doing here? Blah, blah, blah. And she was so happy to see me and think, give me a number, give me a number. She was a client, she was a client. She's come to my spa for a pedicure, right? I need to come and get my feet done, whatever it is. And then she did her hand like this and showed me these fancy diamonds and told me she just got married again. I was like, I almost fainted. I was like, excuse me. And who do you think this man was? This is sometimes you have to open up your mind, right? Because people always feel that marriage is about one thing. Marriage is about so many different things. Companionship is such a wide thing.
Attachment, yes.
There was this, in their church, there was this couple. They were friends for years. And the wife became ill. And she, being a friend, would go there all the time and help him look after his wife until she passed away. And she passed, and he was alone, and she was alone. So, like twice a week, she'd cook. So she used to cook. Part of her thing she did with her husband was they were chefs. So they would cook, they would cater for people, right? So she'd prepare meals like once, twice a week, and she'd go take it up for him so he'd have something to eat, right? And then just doing that alone, they struck up a little relationship. And if people start thinking, at her age, I'm like, I say, yo, because your mind is in the wrong place.
Wow.
And so they will think, your mind is in the wrong place. These are two people who decided, you know what? We belong to the same religious background. We are compatible. We are friends. We know each other. You're lonely
Yes.
here, I am lonely here. And I'm bringing food to you every single time. And they decided to talk to the elders in their church, who were, of course, younger than them at that time. And they got the blessings of their ministry, right? And decided to get married. So they got married, and she left her house. She rented out her house and moved up into his house, so he could have his nice little meals when the day come, and he, and they'll go for walks and evenings together. And I thought that was such a beautiful story, and that's for real, for real, for real. I thought that, and I didn't remember to be talking about that now. She could have made herself, she could have turned herself into a real lonely, miserable person because he died and left me here, and why did he go? I need to go. She did not do that. And she's a, and then tell, but she think about her, she's always a person who laughed a lot. She would come to do her feet, and the things she would say to you, and by the time the girls still thought her, Miss Anne coming to do her feet, I see her name on the books. Oh my God. Whenever she came, she would come in with some kind of swagger and some kind of laughter. And she would come and she would laugh and she would make you. So her mindset was always a good one, a pleasant one, I should say. So because of that, she was able to move on. Then of course she belonged to everything. Her church groups, she was very involved in her church. And then also involved in other things in TAP and different things that she found reason for doing things. So when Ainsley passed away, which was sudden, he got sick and died within a thing. But two sons were already grown up and had their families. One was living all the way in Dubai, right? She felt lonely for a little bit. She missed him because he was not there anymore. But she found something else to do. Her grouping in her church and try to go to Diego Martin every day and carry look after her friend, help her husband look after a friend. And she said, Cheryl, let me tell you something, there was nothing. People might think all kinds, but there was nothing. I went there as a friend and I just looked after her. And when she passed away, I thought to myself, oh my God, what is this man going to do? So I because I'm still cooking, and only one son I have the food that's next door to me will come and eat some food for me. All this food, I don't know how to cook for one person, because she always catered. She'd cook and she'd pack things, she'd take things for every couple of days, so every 3 days he'd have his name. And she still drove her car. That little car she would still drive, and she'll take it for him. And then just doing that, they realized that they like spending time together and talking to each other. Their conversations were good. It was so them. So they went to the elder and said, listen, it's not a falling in love kind of something. We're not 20 years old. We're not going to have, hot sex. We're not going to, it's just like, we just, And they said, you know what? We sanctioned that, we bless it. And they got married. And I thought, I think she made up, I'm not sure, let us say that. But the thing about it is that she found happiness even after her perceived happiness had gone. But everybody does not have her mindset. Too
It
many
comes back
people.
to what good, Cheryl. It
Yeah.
comes back to mindset.
Mindset again, this thing. Because I have no friends. I don't go anywhere. I don't do it without my husband. I can't talk to anybody. And some people literally do not even have relationships with anybody. They know people. They don't even with their neighbors. It's so sad. It is so sad.
Correct. Correct.
You know?
So, there's a lot that can be said about loneliness, and there are a number of ways to mitigate that. But again, first, I think it also begins with your level of self-esteem. How do you see yourself? How do you engage with other people? Because surely life is not about knowing one person, and it's surely not only about your children, because before you had kids, you had hopefully a social life. Um, it's about getting out there. And I'll tell you something, Cheryl. There are so many organizations out there that need help, that need people to come and help, whether it's going to the church and doing the food drive and helping to collect food and give out food, or like Afet is doing it, Suit Me Up, giving back to society, etc. There are so many things that we can do and get involved. It does not necessarily have to be an all male or all female organization. If you want to do that, that's cool too. But really, to get out there and feel, it's the feeling of being needed.
Yeah.
Right? The feeling of being needed and being of service to other people and valued. And there are there are a number of organizations or groups that can bring that element back into your life. So just talking from the perspective of a widowed person, and this is good for men as it is for women. Oh my goodness. traffic control.
That's okay. That's okay. We understand your pets. That's okay. That's okay.
Yes. So, those things are important. And I am blessed because I have just a few, including you, really close friends that we can really talk and about all the things. And right here, look at this. Right here and right now, you and I are talking about the things that mean a lot to us, the things that mean a lot, not just to us, but to other women who may be going through this situation and thinking, I don't know what to do. And guys, guess what? We've been there. We have been there. But I can tell you for myself, and I know for Cheryl as well, we've always had a positive outlook on life, lessons to be learned that we can now take those learnings and impart to other women. And you know what? We can still and will, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, Cheryl, I don't know if you want to share now, but right here in Trinidad, Cheryl was telling me of a woman who has these social gatherings
Yeah.
for individuals who are around our age group. Talk to us a little bit about that. I know you may not want to specifically
No,
give
I
the
know, but I won't call her name because I can't market her business for her, right? But she does like a social thing, I think, every quarter. So she caters mainly for not the young, but from a certain age up. I think maybe from 40 plus. But she has these social gatherings because she worked in journalism for many years. So she knows a lot of people. So she
right.
will know all of the males who are, because people tend to think that men not lonely too, and men not looking for companionship too. They are. right? So she would have a list of them, you know, they would like to meet somebody, but every time they, there's a lot of things out in the street, so you don't want to just meet anybody in one thing. So she would invite them, and she would invite some of the women, and to intermingle this of a social evening. She's not matchmaking. And out of those social gatherings, there have been so many positive relationships. It's
Wow.
amazing, right? And it's something to look forward to. You get dressed up nicely and you walk in, and you don't know who you will meet in there.
Wow.
You just don't know who you will connect to inside of there. I think it's not a beautiful thing. You walk
Yes.
in, you get a drink, you sip a drink, you walk through, you smile with everybody. And the thing about it, you have to be like my friend Anne, that lady, who was in her 80s at the time. You have to be open-minded. If you're closed-minded and you have all these issues about you, that can't work for you. You have to be open-minded. So you walk in, you don't know who you would meet. You don't know who you'll connect to, who you'll strike up a conversation with, who will
Right.
exchange a phone number with you, who would want to see you outside of this little gathering. You don't know. Or who would probably go back. Like my sister, the one I spoke about earlier. No, she met her husband. She but she's a social butterfly. I'm not so sure, but she belongs to all these different groups, something very well in her church as well. But she always have her little group gatherings and her girlfriends, and now they call themselves the Golden Girls. So you have to go with that name, right? But I mean, but they dress up and they go out to tea every once in a while, but they do things together, right? And of course, she was much more. This 25 years ago, 26 years ago, right? She had gone to this Sunday evening, like a little it was a
Soiree.
social gathering, but by invitation, right? It was with somebody who had this beautiful home on the lawn. So in front of the lawn, they'd have this little this party, bar to the back, and they invite certain people to come to that. She went to that, right? With one of her friends, Avril. We all say Avril was the chief bridesmaid even before the wedding came about. She and Avril went there, and of course, my sister will always dress herself nicely. Again, I always said, present yourself well, right? Present yourself well, your skin, your hair, your nails, fix yourself up right? We're not talking about dress up. People always get tied up with it. I don't get dressed up. We're talking about presenting yourself well, right? Make sure your clothes fit right, wear the right colors, it's good, your hair is nicely done, your face is nicely made up, there's nothing to be flashes of just simply. You could put yourself together nicely. She went to this thing. And they're there, they're hanging out in front, she said to the front by the porch, hanging out. Apple said to her, I noticed that somebody keep looking at you. She says, I saw him too, but he looks all right. You can keep looking. And I was looking, he was standing there by himself, right? And he was just listening to the music and tripping, came alone. And then they went to the bar to get something to drink. And then he came to the bar as well. And then he came back to the front. He stood a little closer to them. Then he asked her to dance. So she danced with him. It's an open thing. All mature people do dance and whatever it is. And when she was ready to leave, he asked her how she was getting home. She said, well, I have my own car. He said, okay, no problem. And she left. A week later, back in the days of landlines, her landline rang in her house. And she answered, and he was on the phone. And she was taken aback. He said, don't be afraid. I asked, whoever the host was, I asked her for your, if I can get you, and she knows who I am. And so she decided to give me a number. But the woman said she was about to call and tell her, I gave this person a number, if you don't mind. But he called first. I guess he was hot on the dial, right? They chatted, and she said, okay, because she remembered him. They chatted, and then he called again another time. They chatted again, and he invited her to dinner. And she said to him, since I don't know you well, how about lunch instead of dinner? Right? And he said, no problem. He said, halfway through the meal, halfway forward, she asked him, so what is your status? Are you available to be taking me out to lunch? And he said he had to put the fork down with the food. And he told her, yes, he told her about, his situation, separated from this person who he was not married to, but he had 2 daughters from how many years, whatever, that long relationship. And they chatted and chatted and got to know each other and started visiting and taking her out and chatted. And after 3 months of that, 3 months, he asked her to go and meet his parents.
Wow.
She went, she met him. She didn't want to go. She talked to my mom. He said, go ahead, go ahead. She went, she met his parents. The mommy has seen my mom. Said, oh, my mother was, I like what I also see. My mother was easy, right? And she met his parents. And then he came and he asked my mother to marry her.
Wow.
Now she was a grown woman, but
Of course.
like 40 years old, but guess what? He still had her mother, right? And since it was her first marriage, because her daughter, she had a daughter, but she wasn't married to her daughter's father. They decided she wanted to have a wedding. So that was like, let's say February, March of that year. So the wedding took place in November. But
Right.
planned this wedding. And they had a, because both of them, both of them were first time been married. And it's 25 years next month, on
Wow.
the
Such
23rd of
a
November, or the 24th of November, somewhere around there. But it will be 25 years since they have been married. Happily, happily, happily married. Doing really good with each other. So that came from what? A social function. And a friend who knew that and who knew him and invited him, and a friend who invited her as well. So when he asked her number, it wasn't like, what was that number for? She knew who she was introducing to each other. And
Of
it was,
course.
her party wasn't even about that. But since he came and he asked, and he said he's interested to get to know her, she knew my sister was single. And she knew he was single, so she shared the number. Right? So
Yes.
sometimes you have good friends who could do things like that for you. Right? And today they still happily married. But sometimes things like that happen. I told you, but we grew up in the same area, right? And I don't know
Yes.
if you experienced it. Back in the day, if somebody was getting married, they would always send you all the single women and the single men, they would line them up and send a guy to take the girl to the wedding. That's how we did back then. I mean, it stopped. I don't know why they stopped doing that. You know how many marriages and good relationships came out of those things?
Wow.
There's a guy who up to this day, every time he see me, he say, you got away, you got away, right? Because he always said he met me, he was still single, I was still single. But we didn't have cell phones back then. My father was so strict. So he tried to connect a couple of times and come and visit on a Sunday afternoon, but daddy in a serious face watching the man outside, so he didn't really thing. And he was trying to hide somebody. So whenever we see each other now, we still talk. I mean, he's always saying, you got away and you got away. You know what I mean? But there was an attraction there. He took me to this wedding, and that couple is still married today with grandchildren and almost great grandchildren. That wedding we went to. But it was so amazing that we met so many nice people back in the day, just like that.
Yes.
And I think people need to start doing that again. To me, that is something that people need to start looking into again. Because you would know the character of the person
Yes,
who
for
you're
sure.
matching with, the other person. And it may or may not turn to anything, but it could just mean we have really good friendships. Because to me, all women, there's a pastor who told me, she said, Sharon, all women, forget what the church said, all women need a good male friend. You need to have a good male friend. A male you could talk to without any kind of connection, to have
Yes.
conversations. Somebody want to do something, want to go somewhere, need a male. All women need a good male friend.
I agree.
So let me tell you something. There are good stories coming out of this. Loneliness is a condition of the mind. A lot of people are lonely. It is not because something has happened to them different to anybody else. It is their mindset and the way they think, and they're not opening up their minds to connect with other people. They're not
Yes.
open enough to want to I think. And let me tell you something. And religion messes people's minds up with all of this thing. So you feel as if you talk to a man, because people feel that they cannot be platonic relationship between a man and a woman. That's not true. And if you start talking to this man, you have to be in a relationship. You have to be going deep. It doesn't have to be that, you know what I mean? And we need to start to talk about this and open this up a little bit. Because a lot of
Yes.
people need companionship. And if you have even one friend who will come over and sit with you, sip a glass of wine, raise a toast to the new year with you, whatever it is, you would not feel
No.
lonely and alone. Because a lot of that loneliness is a state of mind. Even if you don't have family, let's say even if you don't have any kind of family whatsoever, you can still find friendship and company and groups and TAP is. I used to take my mother to TAP meetings. That's Trinidad and Tobago Retired Persons Association. Let me tell you something. They have fun. They travel. They went to Cuba. They went to Jamaica. They have fun. That group in Arima where she used to go to. Let me tell you something. They had dance evenings. That carnival time they had like the calypso singing. That guests coming to speak to them about different things. That was a movement. That was a movement which I really should join, but I don't have the time anyway. But that was really a really good thing. That tap movement. So she every Friday evening she got herself a dress up and she would go. And then after a while when we felt that she was not like kind of like, we don't want to travel by herself. I would go on I'd go on a take her to the and
Right.
stay there with me. But I enjoyed those sessions because it was really fun and really nice. It was really nice. It was nice. And the
Yeah.
people from 50 and up. After 50 you're not an old person, from 50 and up, you met people who were really very nice. Really very nice. So it was really, it's beautiful. Life is meant to be lived. That's my conclusion to this whole conversation. And people need to open their minds up to live and stop living in this in a bubble and thinking everything is all these negative thoughts need to come out of your mind. And if you feel the thinking of it, find people to talk to. Get some kind of a counselor where that's concerned because life is meant to be lived. I heard somebody say this week, one of my favorite pastors, Nona Jones. And she stopped, was it Nona or Lisa Harper? One of them was saying that, those days on TV. And she was saying, people read the Bible. I also have to go back to the Bible, right? People read the Bible and they read things and they kind of interpret it in their own way and keep it in a space, a small space, in a box. When Christ gave up the ghost, right? Well, he wasn't murdered. People like to say that he was not. He gave it up. He didn't have to. And he said, it is finished. He died for us to have life and have it more abundantly. And it meant we need to start living our life, our abundant life right here. Everybody will die and go to heaven. And guess what? That same Bible said when we die, we don't go to heaven. We go to sleep until Christ come back. I don't know why they keep saying that. I heard Pastor Dutton say when my neighbor died, I heard him say that, They fell asleep. So you have no use to anybody, God nor man, if it's like on sleeping for 100 years, when you can live and live a happy life. Why people waiting to die and you're not going to heaven yet? God not ready to see you, see your face every day. He's in heaven, that is, right? Christ is going to come back. Who is coming back for if everybody go to heaven when they die? Every funeral you go to hear them say that. The person has gone to a better place. No, they're sleeping. They ain't gone anywhere. They're right there. This has gone because this is nothing. Let's go back to the dust. And the rest of you, which is the real you, the soul, is asleep. And it's written in the book of Thessalonians. Because read it if you want to, don't argue with me. But I guess it's comforting that the person's gone to a better place. They ain't gone nowhere. They're right there, not being of use to anybody. Right? Because the Bible also talks about what is the use of that person if they died to it really is of no use, right? So the thing about it, we need to, the point of this whole thing, we need to learn to live life. Let go of all of those kind of things we grow up here and all these stigmas and all these things, and learn to live life. Open our minds up. Listen, I'm alive, and I'm going to continue to live. I want to live an abundant life. Live a life that's pleasing to God, yes, but live my life. Laugh, share, give, whatever. That's how I want to live. Christy.
Well, I think you've pretty much covered it all, and we have covered a lot in terms of loneliness. We've given some tips, and my last word on this is that, experts say that COVID-19 has exacerbated the situation with loneliness. We've had 2 years of forced isolation in many parts of the world. And while social media has helped to some extent by allowing us to reach out to people far and wide all across the world, it has also, I call it the double-edged sword. Whereas you could be sitting right here having dinner with someone and be on your phone rather than paying attention and being present. At the end of the day, let us use this opportunity and these conversations that Cheryl and I and others, of course, are having so that we can truly address issues that are relevant, that you can relate to, and that there's someone in your life, maybe even you, that you're going through it. And we can have these conversations to hopefully enlighten you, give you some options, some tips, and we encourage you as well to share with us. Tell us, maybe there are some tips that you know that's worked for you that you can share with us and we can in turn share with others. So that's pretty much it. I had a blast as usual. Cheryl, thank you again for having me share the space and the stage with you.
And I didn't say who I was at the beginning, so I'll do my introduction at the end of this whole thing, and Christine will also do hers. I'm Cheryl Diane Sewing. Yes. And I wear many hats. I'm an image consultant, I'm an international speaker, I'm a trainer, I'm an author. And I love people. My life joy is empowering other women as I continue to learn and grow, because I intend to live an abundant life, live it more abundantly. Christine?
And my name is Christine Francois, and I'm a former career banker, former corporate communications executive. I own my own event production company, and I am focused on your mental wellness as it relates starting from the gut. Everything begins in the gut. So that's pretty much it for today. And I really enjoy talking to all of you and really helping women and men too, but predominantly women, find and create their best bodies and their best selves by getting really healthy.
And to our 22 loyal subscribers, I thank you all for subscribing to this channel. Now, 22 is nothing compared in the YouTube world, but you know what? I'm happy that you all are here. And what I want to ask you is to share it with your friends. Let them know about these conversations. Share it, subscribe, encourage them to subscribe and share. Okay? So we'll be here again next Monday, God willing. Same time, same channel. Yes, same time, same.